The High Middle Ages, a time of prosperity. Well, at least in comparison to the last ages. A time of great change where empires rose and fell, crusaders went on long quests, and feudalism was at a peak. It's no wonder why this era was the inspiration behind Attila Taught War's mod, Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. But why 1212 exactly? Why that exact year? What was so special about it? Well, the game starts in the year 1212 AD, but on the 16th of July to be exact, with that year's main event, the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa. But before we get here, we need to know some backstory. So Iberia at the time was divided between two, the Christian part in the north and the Muslim part in the south. King Alfonso VIII lost a major battle to the Almohads, allowing for his enemies to sweep further into his land, taking many settlements. The Muslims, seeing their advantage, brought a massive army into Spain, so massive that the Pope had to call a crusade to unite the Christians of Iberia to bring it down. This was one of the largest battles Iberia had ever experienced, and was to decide the fate of Iberia. And that is where our story starts. Spoiler alert, the Christians won. If you want to know more about this battle, I advise the video done by Kings and Generals. So the specific year of 1212 was decided by this event. However, why choose this century? There's many other possible centuries to pick, along with many other decades within them. Although the game starts at 1212 AD with the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa, and that is the only major event of that year, there were major events of that decade and the decade prior that are also being portrayed here. Like Medieval 2, it combines a load of historical moments of roughly that period into one year. The Byzantine Collapse, for example. For years, the remnants of the Roman Empire had been fading. Byzantium was on its final legs, being battered away by the Seljuks, Sicily attacking their Italian territory, and a civil war to add onto all of that. In 1204, Constantinople was sacked as a result of the Fourth Crusade, and the empire collapsed. A number of successor states formed, and that is where the game begins. Constantinople was ruled by the Latin Empire, and the main successors were as follows: Nicaea, Trebizond and Epirus, all three of which we do see in-game as playable factions. The Nicaeans being the ones to reclaim Constantinople in 1261, which is probably why they are the most detailed faction of all the successors. However, despite the Seljuks playing an important role in the demise of Byzantium, they are seen going the same way due to many defeats to many neighbouring powers, soon to be finished off by the Mongols. Not only this, but, of course, there's a conflict between the English and the French. A war of 1212 to 1204 saw France invade Normandy and win. Then between 1213 to 1214 we see another war, mostly fought in Normandy again. This was also a period of the English control over France collapsing and the French taking back some control over their lost territories. Although the game starts in a period of peace, it is clear that hostile relations are present and that war will once again erupt. And then we have the sudden rise of the Khwarezminis and their sudden collapse to the Mongols. Genghis Khan was still alive at the start date, but after his death in 1227 they began to invade the Middle East and eventually Europe. Crazy to think that at the same time there was still warring in China also. And then we have the Fifth Crusade for Cairo, to be called in 1217, and the Teutonic Knights settle in. So clearly this period is one crazy time, a lot going on all over. 1212 AD was chosen for the battle, but that is not why this century or decade was really chosen. Really, they could have picked any date between 1200 to around about 1240 and still have a great opener. Maybe start it off with the siege of Constantinople and then you get to sack it in 1204, maybe start with that. The history in a game like this fuels imagination and content. The more history, the more possibility, and so it's only logical that this period was chosen. 1212 being some cool sounding date that so happens to have a major battle. What I like about the date they have chosen is that there is no place on the map that is quiet. Iberia and the Reconquista, Anglo-French Wars, fall of Byzantium and the Seljuks, crusades, Mongols about to invade the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Everywhere is covered. No part of the map is left blank. No part is dull. Even Denmark was a newly formed nation, and there's historical content there. The historical content is what makes many people want to play certain campaigns. It gives them a backstory, something they can relate to, or maybe a mission to achieve. Can I survive? Or can I do better? Okay, back to my map. Now, you have probably seen a massive gap, and that is to do with the HRE, who were having their own history at the time also. I've saved this to the end as I really do not understand HRE politics or history. It's something that I and many others just never understand. We're never taught it in schools. It's not even mentioned the existence of a HRE. So my knowledge is very limited here, but I will try and provide a basic overview from what I can understand. But just so you know, I may make mistakes throughout this video, but this is the section where, there's probably going to be a few, so don't quote me. I advise you check it out for yourself if you want to learn more. So Otto IV was king of the Holy Roman Empire during 1212 AD. But his reign was contested with Frederick II of Sicily. The Pope changed sides and sided with Frederick in 1211. Frederick of Sicily was crowned as king of the HRE in 1212. But on the 9th of December, remember, the game starts on the 16th of July with the battle in Iberia. So the 9th of December, him being crowned, has not yet happened, even though it's the same year. His reign was contested, however, and he was only recognised in the south. Maybe that is why in-game, at the start, Sicily can only begin to form relations with southern HRE members. Otto lost a battle against the French, which was a battle tied in with the Franco-English Wars mentioned earlier. Frederick of Sicily was then elected with a majority and became king in 1215 and crowned again. That's the basics of it. As I said though, if you want to know more, I am not the person to talk to about it, but I still need to cover it, as it does take place in-game with its own unique mechanic system. As I said earlier, historical content allows for gameplay content. Also, this fills in the rest of the map. Overall, I think 1212 AD is a brilliant start date with a lot of flavour, and it's a good sounding name as well, which I think is equally as important. Imagine if they started it with the sacking of Constantinople. They could have easily done that, but 1204 AD, it just doesn't sound good. This has been Total War Backstory, a spin-off from Total War Profiled, where we focus a bit more on looking at the general picture and why decisions were made by the developers, as opposed to Total War Profiled, which focuses more on the accuracy. I am very excited about this series, and I think this here was a great start. Subscribe if you want to see more. They are every Saturday. Share with anyone you think may be interested. It does help me out quite a lot, makes these more worthwhile on my end. Also, let me know if you want to see more. Do you want to see me cover more titles or mods in this format? maybe look into the start year of 1337, the late era campaign expected to release for this mod, let me know. Anyway, I've been MELKOR, and until the next one, goodbye.